This is Support is Sexy, episode 422, with author and wellness coach, Leigh Mercree. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I bring you inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and lessons to help you take your business to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to have you here. You know, it just would not be the same without you. And if you are a woman entrepreneur, a coach, a lifestyle expert, anyone who needs to get in touch with clients and in front of audiences that you really can connect with, you must consider podcast guesting, not launching your own podcast, although of course, that's great too, but being a podcast guest, it's a great way to get in front of your key audience and share your wisdom and expertise. Now, if you haven't done this before, don't worry, because I have a free guide for you on how to be an unforgettable podcast guest. Just go to girlonpodcastgift.com. That's girlonpodcastgift.com. Learn how to be an unforgettable podcast guest for all the right reasons. Now, on today's episode, we have Leigh Mercree, and it was so great to talk to Amy because, well, one, I thought I was going to talk to her about something completely different in her business. She is a wellness coach, as I mentioned in the intro, and I also knew that she was an author. What I didn't know is that she has published basically 2 books every year in the past few years on average, right? She has 10 books out already. She has 2 coming up on May 1st, 1 book on apple cider vinegar and another book on essential oils. And as you know, as a passionate writer, which I am, and an aspiring author who has a proposal out there in the world for Support is Sexy, I was all into the conversation about the books. How is she so prolific? How does she write these books? And how do these books play into her business? So for you, whether you're thinking about writing a book or not, maybe it's something else. In this conversation, we talk a little bit, not the whole time, but about books and how they can play into your business as part of your marketing, as other tools of your business, not even just generating income from the books, because that can happen for a lot of people or not. But there are a lot of other ways that you can use either books or just making sure you get your message out there about what you're doing, your expertise, your passion, and your interests. And Amy also talks about, even though her books are under a certain genre, they're on different topics, so you don't have to feel pigeonholed just to talk about one particular thing. Amy also speaks to us about the marketing company that she set up, Allegria Marketing, that is all about supporting other authors and speakers who want to create books and helping them to market that. So she also created this business out of work that she's doing, sort of like I did, as I'll mention in this episode, created girlonpodcast.com out of my experience as a podcaster of having guests and getting guests on other shows. So there's a lot of ways you can create the business that you're most excited about. So I know you're going to love this episode. Great conversation with Amy. So without further ado, Leigh Mercree. So Amy, welcome to an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Elayne. I'm so happy to be here.
Of course. So our first question, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
I was an entrepreneur as soon as I graduated college, so pretty early.
How did you know at that time that that's what you wanted to do?
It was more just an extension of being a creative person and wanting to share my art and the coaching work that I did, and entrepreneurship was very natural for me. My dad's a lifelong entrepreneur, so it just seemed really natural to start my own business, and I did, and I've had one ever since.
So it's one of those things where you were able to witness it in someone very close to you, obviously your dad, and seeing him be an entrepreneur all his life.
Exactly.
Or from all of your life, I should say.
Yeah. Most of his life, too. Uh-huh. He started his business the year I was born.
Oh, wow.
So my entire life, yeah.
What kind of business does your dad or did your dad have?
He has a a business that fixes large scale industrial equipment. So it's definitely not my field, but I grew up in that environment and just, hearing and seeing what he did and how he treated the people who were his employees like family and things like that. So really nice.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New England.
Oh, okay. So what was a young Amy like growing up in New England?
How young?
However young you can remember back to, or any stories that you can tell us that just sort of indicate who you are as a person today.
Sure. Well, as a child, I was outside a lot and, really connected to the natural world and very creative and imaginative and things like that. And I always liked telling stories and creating worlds, sort of imaginative worlds, things like that. And I do think that some of that informed my work as an author. I do write fiction. I haven't published that yet, but I have 6 nonfiction books out and 4 more on the way in the next 2 years. So I tell a lot of stories, and I always loved that. So I think that was definitely formative for me early in life.
You have 4 more books coming in the next 2 years?
I do.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing, Amy.
I know, I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited for you as a writer. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's shift for a minute and talk about that. I could talk about writing all day, but I won't do that to you. But I do have a question of how you said you have 6 nonfiction books out now, 4 coming, so that'll be 10 in the how many years altogether? With that
since 2012. So I guess 6 years now, but it'll be like 7-ish.
So that's almost 2 books a year. Close, yeah. I have a feeling you're probably throwing some more in there. So what is your process like? Because obviously you're already a prolific writer. What is your process like for writing your books for those authors who are listening or aspiring authors?
Sure. Nowadays, I'm really into efficiency because I have a lot happening. So I have the idea for the book, and when you publish a nonfiction book, traditionally, you most of the time have to create a book proposal. So you've already created an overview and a marketing plan, so that's done. So then once the book is under contract, you have a deadline, so you have to get it done in a relatively timely manner. And I'm the kind of person, I make my outline and just kind of have in mind already what I want to say. And then I just go from beginning to end and fill in the outline with the correct word count. So it's not like, I sit in a coffee shop and stare at the people passing by and think about it and write the sentence over 10 times. I'm not that kind of a writer. So I'm just about efficiency and, I do like the poetic and the evocative to be present in my work. So I'm in that mindset at least part of the time and combining that with a real efficiency-minded slant as well. That's how I approach it.
What is your latest book?
So I have 2 books coming out on May 1st. Natural remedies books, one about apple cider vinegar and one about essential oils.
So what would you say, have all of them been on certain topics like remedies or things like that, or has it been a variety of topics for those listening who aren't aware?
It's been a variety of topics. So the apple cider vinegar and essential oils handbooks are the first books of that kind. My first book was called The Spiritual Girl's Guide to Dating. Then I had a book called A Little Bit of Chakras. I have a book called Joyful Living, 101 Ways to Transform Your Spirit and Revitalize Your Life. So it's kind of like a page a day, chapter a day kind of book. I have a cookbook, and I also have my 2 latest books that are out, The Compassion Revolution, 30 Days of Living from the Heart, and then my latest book before the next 2 that are upcoming is called A Little Bit of Meditation. So kind of all in the health and wellness genre, but some varied topics.
Right. And it's good for people to hear who are, again, either writers now or aspiring writers to hear that, like you said, it's within a certain genre, but it's definitely different topics. It's not all cooking or all wellness or all one particular topic. So you're obviously evidence that you can write about different things. You don't have to feel pigeonholed, if you will.
You can, and it's really about the industry. And some of these books were my publisher requested that I write, or one of my publishers specifically requested. So they have done the market research and said, we believe that books on these topics are going to be popular, so would you like to write them? So I personally, as an entrepreneur, love that, because, that shows me that we're going to reach a lot of people.
So how did you, and this is partly selfish question, because as I said, I'm a writer and have a proposal out and about right now, actually.
Oh, you do? Good.
I do, yes, with an agent. I'm super excited, Amy. Yay. I'll keep you posted. I'll be tapping into you for some tips and some ideas about the process for sure. But for everyone listening, what was for you the process like, say, with creating your first book, or not even just creating it, getting it into the hands of a publisher? Because it sounds like these aren't all self-published books that you're doing. You're actually working with publishers on this process. So what was the process like for you?
It was a long process. It took me 6 years to get an agent, which is typical. And then it was the third project that I proposed that my agent sold for the first time. And
did you pitch one agent 3 projects, or you were pitching them to several different agents?
One agent, the 3 projects. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once I had the ear of an agent, I knew she was the right person, and she's still my agent. She's become a good friend. She's incredible. Lisa Hagen, of Lisa Hagen Literary, is just the best agent any writer could ever wish for.
Awesome.
I was really fortunate. So once I had her ear, I just kept pitching her until, just creating proposals and pitching her until she said, I think I can sell this one. And she did. And that's how it all started. Yeah.
So then does your agent go then to, after you sell the first book, obviously it's working with that particular publisher, but then do you keep coming back to her with other book ideas, or does she also work with you and say, how about writing about this, and then go to different publishers, or what is that process like for you?
For me, initially after the first book, it was me coming to her, but there is a collaborative process, and she subsequently did later on shape some of the choices. And like I said, when I worked with my publisher, who did a little bit of meditation that just came out, Sterling Ethos, and my next 2 books, the Apple Cider Vinegar Handbook and the Essential Oils Handbook, all are with Sterling. And so Sterling came to me with some ideas as well. And I really I love working with that publisher. All of my publishers have been spectacular in different ways, but at Sterling, they have some incredible distribution, which is just such a key thing from an entrepreneurship standpoint around sales. So they've gotten a little bit of meditation on display in every Barnes & Noble in the country. They got my book that I co-wrote, A Little Bit of Chakras, in Whole Foods, Good Earth, Francesca's. So they really place their books in some great stores, and that's a really incredible way to supplement the Amazon side of things, and it ups the discoverability factor for the book as well.
Mm-hmm. Sterling, they're called? Sterling Publishers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sterling Ethos, they're called.
Sterling Ethos, okay. Mm-hmm. So for you, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all.
So for you then, with the books, as you mentioned, it's great for you as an entrepreneur. How do your books play into your business, or maybe how did your business play into your books, both sides of it?
Good question as well. I've been a coach and a medical intuitive for 17 years, so that provides some of the material that I write about. And so having the books definitely ends up, I think, having people find me and discover what I do and work with me, which is wonderful. Mm-hmm. And, I think from a business standpoint as an author, it also gives you something interesting to market besides yourself. It's a book, it's a product, there's a launch, it creates a moment in time. So it gives you some marketing opportunities that go beyond just here's the service or other products that I'm selling.
Have you found that it's the books have really, say after your first one, I'm sure now you know more, but after your first one or first couple, did you really see a difference in your business by having your books, or did it take some time?
I think it takes time. I've always had a relatively busy coaching business. It's 100% referrals. I've never advertised, except my books, I guess, are my advertisement. But yeah, I think I see an increase. And more than that, I see an increase in things that I'm asked to participate in, just different media and things like that. So it's in speaking engagements and things like that. So I think it takes time, and it's a process, and it depends upon how much effort you want to put into each of those arenas to cultivate those results as well.
Right. Like if you want to make writing a book part of your business, which it sounds like it's a part of your business now, in addition to something you enjoy, because as you mentioned, you've made it a process, you know how to do it and do it efficiently. It's not just creative writing, staring at the birds. That's my thing. Staring at the birds and, sitting out on a rock and coming up with something creative. You really are very efficient with it, like you said.
Right. And also for the last 2 years, I've had a marketing company called Allegria Marketing. And so I do specifically marketing for other authors and wellness brands and use everything that I've learned as a best-selling author to help other people get their message amplified. So
this is your company, Allegria Marketing.
Yeah, that's my company. Yeah. So that's the other way that my writing career has influenced my business, because I started an additional business because of it.
Ah, I know what that's like. I have the Support a Sexy podcast, obviously, because you're here. Thank you for being a guest.
Of course.
A spinoff from that was girlonpodcast.com, helping women get booked on podcasts. So it's the same kind of thing. You just like, this could be an interesting business and really help people based on your own experience.
Yes.
Excellent. Very smart, Amy. So a question for you. You mentioned that you've been an entrepreneur since at least college. So were you coaching and those kinds of things in college, or did that evolve later on? What were the kind of things you were doing as an entrepreneur while you were in school, or maybe just after school?
In college, I was selling art that I made. And then right after college, I became basically a part-time coach, medical intuitive. And so I've done that ever since. Now it's not part-time, but so that's how that started.
Did you ever think, was there ever a point when you thought, okay, maybe I should get I feel like I already know the answer to this, but okay, maybe I should get a quote unquote regular job or a full-time job. Or a real, like as they say, that's what I like. I feel like I know the answer to this, especially because you grew up with an entrepreneur. So you're like, and it is a real job, right? Anyway, I don't want to answer for you, but just for anyone listening who's like, right. That's amazing. She's been an entrepreneur since college.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really a color in the lines kind of person to begin with.
I get that from you.
But I did have quote unquote real jobs. I have a degree in education, and so I was working as a teacher. Especially in those early years, I would work as a teacher and then teach classes and do my coaching, teach the medical intuitive type of classes and shamanism classes and things, and do my coaching in the evenings and on the weekends and things like that. So I did have to pay those dues and such. But no, entrepreneurship suits me.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. That's real. People need to know that in the beginning, you may have to do some other things. And it could be even things that you love. Sometimes we think I have to do things that I hate while I build this business. It could still be things you love or things that you studied or whatever it is while you're continuing to grow your business. Yeah,
or things that are low-hanging fruit for you to do to fund your business. That's kind of what it comes down to.
So what would you say now that you've been in business for 17 years and growing your business in so many ways, what would you say are the primary services that you offer to your clients now, the people you work with?
Well, so Allegria Marketing offers, comprehensive marketing and branding and design for authors and wellness brands, and occasionally other industries as well. I have some other clients that have come in over the last couple of years that aren't under that umbrella. So that's one thing. And then I offer coaching and medical intuitive work. I have my books. I speak for hire and for free. And, that's kind of its own entity. And I also have products, tank tops, mugs, things like that. And I'm launching an essential oils line this year as well. So I'm going to be getting more into the product arena this year too.
Do you have plans to write a book of quotes, of your own quotes?
I should, because my quotes are all over the internet. And they're in all these people's books.
Yes.
There's a lady who's got a journal that she just is sending because she's put my quote in it. And there's a lot of books of quotes. So I probably should, yes.
You have, so for everyone listening, I'm writing down, put a link to quotes page. You literally have a quotes page on your website.
I do have a quotes page.
You do. It's fantastic. Yes, I was trying to pick one, but I just could not because there were so many great ones there. But when I say a lot, folks, I'm not talking about 10, a lot, a long list of fantastic, smart, insightful, provocative, thoughtful quotes. So I was thinking, wow, she must have a quote book or have one coming. Yeah, it's really powerful. Just even, well, we'll talk about it. Just other ideas, but that's great. It's really good.
Writing that down, Elayne.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Really good. And like I said, for everyone listening, I'll make sure I link to it. And I actually found, of course, I had been on your website, but I didn't notice that page until I was searching just the web in general for you and for your website. And then it came up quotes from Amy. And I was, what is this? All these other entries of quotes, other people, like you said, quoting you or your quotes in other places. So anyway, low hanging fruit, Amy.
Great idea. Thank you.
So one of the things that I did notice on your site that was in quotes, if you will, is about you helping people, your clients especially, find the art of self-love, quote unquote. Yeah. So I wanted to know from you, what is the art of self-love and what are some ways that you do teach that to your clients? Because so many of us, especially as entrepreneurs, forget about that.
I think as human beings, we forget about it too, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's we don't live in a world that reminds us, well, I mean, in this case we are, but generally speaking in mainstream culture, how often are we reminded to love and appreciate ourselves? We're more geared towards, there's something wrong with you. Perhaps if you buy this product, you might be better. So to cultivate that art of self-love, I recommend a few different things. Thing one is imagine how would you treat a treasured family member, a niece, a nephew, a child, a parent. How would you treat them? What would you do to show them that you care? And think about turning that inward. How can you show yourself that you do care? And it may be material things like, buying yourself flowers or things like that. But it's also taking the time to manage your energy and your resources and create a home, an environment, and a life that nourishes and supports you, and to make yourself your top priority. Because a lot of times we get a lot of messaging that's selfish or, that's not like the noble path. But if we do not fill our own cup to the top and overflowing, we really can't give as much to others. Mm-hmm. So that's a good way to kind of, maneuver yourself into a stance of self-love, and that does have to come first.
Do you work with a lot of entrepreneurs in your business, or all people from all different industries?
All different industries, although I do get entrepreneurs pretty frequently. Yeah.
What would you say, or why would you say many of us as entrepreneurs, maybe I'm projecting this on everyone else, but certainly for me, that we can thrive in our businesses, but then sometimes struggle with self-care?
That's the cliche, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because we do have a drive, whatever that drive might be. So it could be success, it could be financial, or it could be service. But as an entrepreneur, there's something that's driving you enough to make you make these large efforts and take these risks in a society that's not necessarily structured to have you do that. And so I think that takes a lot of energy and personal internal resources. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are working that bridge job. They are working that real quote unquote day job and building their businesses, especially in the beginning. I think in those instances, there's just not a lot left. So to me, that's a critical time where even if it's for 10 minutes before bed, it's doing something for yourself, whether it's, reading an uplifting book or writing in your journal 10 things that you love about yourself or 15 things that you're grateful for that happened that day. Whatever it is, just taking that little bit of time to devote to you as a person, not just you as one who's producing in your business.
And something that, as you just suggested, that can be created into a routine and eventually into a habit, I think has been helpful. I know for me, if it's something I just say, I'm going to meditate for a few minutes each day, leave it kind of open and loose, it eventually goes away. But one of the things that helped me, for example, is having the 5-minute journal, which I'm sure you've heard of. I purchased the 5-minute journal, and it's very simple and has what are you grateful for? What are your goals? I'm messing up exactly what the language is, and what are your affirmation, those kind of things. But it's a routine, and I do it every morning and every evening. So would you say for everyone listening, whether it's that or something like what you mentioned, kind of making it something that has a little bit of structure around it, even if it doesn't feel too tight, but that you can continue to do every single day?
I think that's a spectacular idea. And, it's all about consistency in anything, whether it's your business or your personal life or your practice of self-love. How consistently are you able to make yourself a focus? And applying a structure is a tremendous idea. Absolutely.
What would you say has been the greatest challenge that you've had to overcome in your journey as an entrepreneur, whether that's in business or even self-care, evolving to the person that you are today who seems so centered and aware? Were you always that person, or were there some challenges along the way that sort of helped you evolve?
I think we all have challenges, and I think a central theme that myself and many entrepreneurs encounter is the challenge of continually overcoming self-doubt. Who am I to do this? And my practice with that is fine, feel it and, whatever, but then decide to push through it, or sidestep it and just keep going forward and not let that internal voice that might be critical or doubt your worth stop you from taking action steps. And that's really, for me, the cornerstone of building my business and my success is taking action steps, even in the face of whatever else is going on, whether it's doubt or, anything else. So that's my take on that.
What does your support network look like?
I have some great staff that helps, and I have so many friends who are entrepreneurs. Obviously, Elayne is acquainted with Victoria Geller, who's a superb business coach. She's been incredibly helpful in my journey. One of my best friends, Jamie Esslinger, is a crackerjack marketing consultant, and so we're only as good as the people around us. And I like to cultivate friendships with amazing women. So I have a lot of amazing support around me.
Fantastic. Victoria is your coach? You work with Victoria?
I have, yes. I have.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. Yeah. For everyone listening, I'll have a link to Victoria's episode. Yes. She was on a very early episode of the Supported Sexy podcast, so that's excellent.
She's incredible. Yeah, I highly recommend her.
A great connector.
Mm-hmm.
So, Amy, what would you say entrepreneurship has taught you about yourself as a woman?
As a woman, it's taught me to keep moving forward fearlessly, really, and even in the face of fear, to still keep moving forward. That's what it's taught me. And at the same time, it's also taught me the art of allowing, and that as women, we have a unique ability to collaborate, allow, and be receptive. And so if I can utilize that innate ability within myself and then apply the qualities of moving forward and keeping forward momentum, that's when I see a lot of results in my business.
I like that phrase. I hadn't heard that, the art of allowing.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, because it's funny, because the first thing it made me think of is how so many of us wait for permission. It's sort of like taking that power back and calling it the art of allowing.
It is.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I'm not a big proponent of waiting for permission.
Right. You told us you color outside of the lines. You take action.
Just take action and go for it, and go for the dreams, and go for the bigger slice, and push further and try things that are outside of the box, because sometimes those are the things that really pop, and they won't always. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I've failed as many times or more as I've succeeded, and that's just part of the journey, and it's a numbers game, so you have to develop a thick skin and keep going.
One of your quotes, again, one of your many, many, many quotes that you have on here is keep a relentless eye on your goals. So that sort of reminds me of what you just said, keep an eye on your goals, but know that it's not always going to go as planned, but you have to keep an eye on your goal.
Yes. And evolve your goals too. You know, that quote says your dreams are worth it. Keep a relentless eye on your goals and you'll make your mark. And that's true. But also evolve those goals, because they may change, and let them get bigger as you do. And as you can envision more and see and dream more, then you can take larger actions.
That's right. So in closing, if you think over your life and career, and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be, and what would you say?
I would thank my mother for just being such an incredible mother, and just a steadfast support since childhood. She always made an effort to nurture and affirm and validate all of my individual quirks. As a child, she would say that I was eccentric as a child, but in a positive way. Mm-hmm. And that really gave me a solid internal foundation to be able to say these things to all of you. Like, yes, follow those dreams, follow those goals, go bigger, and listen to those internal stirrings, because I had a mother who validated that for me. So I would thank her.
Excellent. Thanks, Mom.
Yes, thanks, Mom.
So, Amy, what are the ways that we can support you? Tell everyone your website. Like I said, I'll have links, but social media, anything else you want us to know about?
Sure. My site is amyleighmercree.com. That's AMYLEIGHMERCREE.com. Same spelling. That's all my social: Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook. I think that's all. Right. LinkedIn, whatever else we're on nowadays. They're all under Amy Leigh Mercree, and you can look for the apple cider vinegar handbook and the essential oils handbook on May 1st in stores all around the country, Amazon, and it will be in Costco and BJ's, so you can find it while you're getting your groceries.
Excellent. Now the pre-sale or pre-order link isn't available just yet, but I can get that from you at a later date.
I think it might be.
Actually,
I think there is a pre-order link on Amazon.
Perfect. I will make sure I link to that then. Thank you so much, Amy. This was so enlightening. I didn't even expect to talk about books as much, but I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and to have the chance to talk to you for myself, for selfish reasons, but also for everyone else too. Like I said, people are always, I shouldn't say always, a lot of people are, though, entrepreneurs thinking about books and how can books be a part of their business, if so, and what are some of the ways, hearing from people who have been able to use it and leverage it wisely.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Absolutely. I didn't realize you were an aspiring author, so we can always talk books. I love to talk about books.
Good. I'm so glad. You heard it, everyone. She said I can bug her about books. That's my interpretation. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate you. And before you go, what's a parting piece of advice from you to our listeners about anything?
Parting piece of advice is that you matter, and everything you do every day matters in some way, whether in your quest to love yourself, or in just a small, caring gesture that you can extend to another person might change the course of somebody's day. So remember that you're important and you matter.
Excellent. Amy, thank you so much. Hold on just a second. All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Amy. To find out more about her, to find out about her many books that are published and the ones that are coming up on May 1st, make sure you go to supportissexypodcast.com and just go to that search icon at the top and type in Amy, AMY. Her show notes page will pop up with all of the links and the resources, all of the ways to get in touch with her. supportissexypodcast.com and search Amy. All right, so I appreciate you being here. I hope you know that. If you want to get in touch with me, make sure you connect with me on social media at Elayne Fluker, at supportissexy. I love engaging with you guys there. I appreciate you being there, following, letting me know what you think, letting me know what you're up to, letting me know who you want me to have on the show, how you want it to be better. Really, really appreciate you. As I always say, it would not be the same without you. All right, so at Elayne Fluker, at supportissexy. I look forward to chatting with you there. And I look forward to chatting with you again back here on Support is Sexy. But until then, always remember, you deserve support. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.